Hello everyone, and so if you're thinking about flipping your classroom or doing any kind of instructional video where the students are going to watch those videos outside of class time, there's a few things that you're going to want to keep in mind. And one of those things, as this picture implies, is you don't want to lose your kids. You don't want to leave anybody behind. And one of the ways that's likely to happen is if you think that they saw your video, but they didn't. And so we want to have a system of accountability in place for that. And we also want to have a way we can ask them questions and check for their understanding, and an outlet for them to ask us questions about the material that they just saw. And what I've personally found is that typically the questions that come in from Video World are deeper. There's a little bit more think time. And so I get questions from kids that might not normally ask questions in class. And then what I can do is I can answer those questions live in the classroom, and it builds kind of a bridge from Video World to back to the classroom, which is nice. And so the way I found that is an effective way to do all three of those things is through a Google form. And I'm going to show you how to make one of those in just a moment. But first, for those of you considering doing a content-based instruction video, there's a couple things that I wanted to offer you. And so I've got a little sample video I wanted to do for you, or sample lecture. And I call this Economy 101, Why Are Things So Expensive? So this is just for fun. I thought it might be kind of interesting. But consider that picture there. Would we ever pay $100 billion for 3 eggs in the United States? Could we get to that level? This is a picture from Zimbabwe back in the 90s. And so if you're doing you're setting up your lecture, I would definitely have an objective and be really clear about that. And so maybe you've got your what, your how, and your why. The how, of course, is this is direct instruction. That's the nature of what we're doing. But in case you're wondering what the why is for this one, I used to teach a chemistry class, and one of the first labs we would do, we called it the alchemy lab. And the alchemists were the first chemists, and they were also the first counterfeiters. And what they try to do is make different things into gold, especially lead. And so what we do with the students is we would try and make pennies, turn pennies into gold. And so the link is gold is real money. Gold has been being used by people for thousands of years versus what we have today, which is not really backed in anything. It's a fiat currency. So it's an interesting link. Would we still want to be counterfeiting gold? Something to think about. And so I would go ahead and set up the Cornell notes, and you can give the students a skeleton like this, or you could give them, as much or little notes as you want to. The beauty of doing these videos is kids can hit pause and take their time to catch up and get everything in place. And then they can just listen and check out your other slides, and maybe they don't have to be scribbling down notes the whole time, and they can focus more. So I've got my essential question, a few things that I would go over in a little video like this, and a place for them to summarize. And what I usually do is go back to this screen at the end of the lecture and remind the kids to make sure they do a nice summary, and they can ask any questions they might have in the margins. So just for fun, you can hit pause if you want to, but just contemplate this. It is true that in the 1950s, a loaf of bread was 19 cents. And so today it's like $4.50, $5 for a loaf. And so if you do the math, that's over a 2,000% increase in the price of bread in one lifetime. And so there definitely is inflation going on. Sometimes it's disguised. Why is it happening? And you may probably already know this, but I thought it'd be cool to show you an old $20 bill where it says, in gold coin, payable to the bearer on demand. You used to be able to take your $20 bill into any bank and get your gold back. And you just can't do that anymore. The Fed prints, the money's not backed in anything. And so the Fed is currently printing, was it 65 to 80 billion dollars a month being injected into the economy, quantitative easing. But now all of our gold is in Fort Knox. And the question is, are we setting ourselves up for hyperinflation? And so here's another picture from Zimbabwe. And then here's a chart from Germany after World War I, where you can see hyperinflation going on. But so the fun thing about the video, or doing a video, is you can bring in the true experts, like Mr. Burns, which is kind of fun. And so I can narrate, I can turn down the volume, I can show different animations, I can do something more serious, obviously.
It's just common sense. Furthermore, rich people feel things more deeply than the common man.
That's enough of that.
And we've got to change our approach to immigration.
But maybe I could pop over here and bring in a newspaper article from the New York Times about the changing value of the dollar, what's going on with that, and so forth. And then, as I mentioned, I would go back to my original notes slide, and I would make sure that the students, I'd wrap it up, review the objective, make sure the students do a summary. But then what we want to make sure that students do is that we know that they've seen the video. And so what I would do is go to my Google Drive to make a Google form, click on New, go down to More for Google Forms. And what I'm going to do is just ask a few basic questions. Get that to click. Go Economy 101. Probably the most important question is, what is your name? And then that won't be a multiple choice. That'll be short answer, and I'll make it a required question. Click on that thing. And then I'd ask some questions about the content. What is the difference between fiat currency and so forth, right? I'd ask a question about that. Maybe I'd ask another question about quantitative easing. And then I would also ask a question about this. Do you have any questions about the material? Cool. And so, and when you actually get the Google form, this is what it looks like. It comes in, you get a big chart like this full of all the kids. And what's cool is you can click on the name chart and come over to data and go alphabetize it to A through Z. And then it's really easy to put into the grade book. And then you can see I've got some questions here I had about the material. And then over here, I've got any questions about the lecture. And some of them say no, which is fine. But then I've got a handful of questions in here, which is I can address those back in class, which is nice. And so thanks for sticking with me. The next short video, shorter than this, is going to show you how to put the links in a place that the students can get to them. The links for the video, the links for the Google form. Okay, thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you later.